And now, it's time for another Dice Tower review with Tom Vasel.
Trivial Pursuit is a very popular game. People are always wanting to play it. I think, though, possibly in maybe 30 years, people won't talk about it as much. Because one of the problems with Trivial Pursuit is it's the knowledge of these itsy-bitsy bits of trivia, which are really trivial, and that the person who knows the most is probably going to win. Of course, there's that idiocy where you have to roll and land on the pie piece. But this isn't a review of Trivia Pursuit. Rather, this is a game for the rest of us. People who think trivia is interesting, but you don't necessarily have to know it. Wits and Wagers, and this is the second edition, a very good version. Wits and Wagers is a game that's about trivia, but if you don't know much about trivia, you still have a really good chance in this game. It's not a game about gambling per se, although it looks like it, and it kind of is, but it's about which of your friends do you think is the most knowledgeable. Lots of fun. Let's look at the board. Here's the Wits and Wagers board, but this really isn't the board that matters. Okay, I guess it does in a sense, but let's look. Each player gets one of these small whiteboards. They're also given a marker to go with their whiteboard, and they're also given a couple of chips that are in their color. Then a card is pulled from the box, and a question on this card is read. Let's take a better look at one of these cards. As you can see, there's 7 questions on this card. For example, the first one is, how many slices of pizza does the average American child eat in a year? What is the minimum age required to serve in the U.S. House of Representatives? How many accredited MBA programs are there worldwide? In miles, what is the average distance from the moon to the earth? In question 7, in what year was Coca-Cola first produced? Now, I'm not going to ruin these questions for you, but let's say we asked a question like this. Let's say, for example, we say the question is, in what year was Tom Vasel born? Now, not everyone knows the answer to this question. Some people might. And so everybody writes down their answer. And they write down different answers on their the things, 1983. And this guy writes 1980. This guy writes 1970. And this guy writes 1983. All right, so these are the different answers that people do, that they write down. And we look at these answers, and I'm going to put them in order from smallest to largest. So here we put 70, 75, 80. Oh, there's a 76, so 76, 80. And since 2 people answered 83, their answers go together. And that's how we set the board up. If for some reason there was an even number of answers, it might look something like this. It depends on who answers and how many people answer. Then everyone is going to bid on the answer they think is right. Now, you can bid on your own, but you might think someone else has a better knowledge of what the answer is. So let's say purple bids 1 here and 1 there. Blue puts both his on his answer. He's pretty sure about that. Orange bids 1 here and 1 there. Green decides he's going to bid on this. All the answers are too high at the end. Puts all his money on that. And everyone puts out different color answers and tries to guess. Now, at this point, then, after everyone bids, the correct answer is revealed. 1976! Blue knew that. Why? Because Blue's me. And I should know how old I am. And so Blue looks at this, and it says there that this pays 2 to 1. So for each blue token that I put there, I'm going to get 2 chips. And the chips come in 1 and 5 denominations, and they're simply big plastic chips. And purple would also get 2 chips. And then blue would get some chips for being the person who wrote the answer. Everybody else gets nothing. Now, as you can see, the answers that are farther to the end pay better odds. If green had been right, he would have got 6 to 1 for putting that down. Now, once you start getting chips on future turns, you can put those chips underneath your token when you play it out there and bid more, trying to get more chips. Of course, you also run the risk of losing those chips. And so that's basically how each game works. And you only play 7 questions. One person draws a card and asks question 1 on that card. The next person question 2, and so on and so forth. So basically what you get with the game is you get a timer in which players have a certain amount of time to answer the question. You get these boards, these tokens, and pens. They just released the expansion pack number 1. What comes in this expansion pack are 700 more questions, which is the same as the original game, and a few more markers, and the lovely Wits and Wagers Expansion 1 wristband, I suppose, if you want to wear that. But still, it's good to add more flavor to an already fun game. You may think 7 questions is too short, but you'll be surprised at how quickly time goes when playing this game. There's a lot of good things I can say about Wits and Wagers. Like I said, you don't need to know what someone's good at. When you're playing with a group, you might say, oh, that's a question about science, and John teaches science at high school, so he should know a lot about that. That's a question that has to do with the military. Bob was a soldier for a while. He might know questions about that. That's a question about board games. Oh, then Joe must know the answer about that. And you can kind of bid on that. And I guess there could even be more where you deliberately write down an odd answer so people pick yours while you know the right one and pick the right one. I suppose you can go that far. Wits and Wagers is a fun game. Like I said, 7 questions, and I don't know that I've ever played it just once. Almost always in every group I played it with wants to play it again. It's not very fun with a few people. I would say you need a minimum of 6 people to play this. What's the maximum number? Well, 50? You may think we're jesting there, but what you can do with Wits and Wagers and what you can't do with most party games is you can turn Wits and Wagers into a game show. You put different people on 7 different teams, and then each team argues with one another what they should write on their card. They send it up, they bid, they all work together. I've run this in churches, I've run this at game shows, I've run this with groups of people, and I think Wits and Wagers is a good party game. It's one of my favorite games. It's an excellent party game. But as a game show, I think it's the best party game. Absolutely brilliant, totally fun. At Origins Convention every year, I've played a version or hosted a version of it, I think at 5 years or so, or I don't know how many times we've done it, but it's been my highlight every time. Super fun time, and it's a game that people will be laughing and rolling and just having a good time together. Super game. So if you have big classes or a big group and you want to try a game out with them, definitely get Wits and Wagers. But even if you just want to play it at home with 5, 6, 7 people, I would recommend it for that too. Excellent game from Northstar.
Thanks for joining us today. For more written, audio, and video reviews, as well as the #1 board game podcast, check out the website at www.thedicetower.com. Until then, this is Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower.